Okay, trends I am observing in fieldwork for autobiography / biography construction as of today. It's Friday, 17 May 2024. So I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. And I'm going to talk through trends I have observed during my reading of autobiographies and biographies, including memoirs, regarding fieldwork for the construction of the book. And this is as of when this video was filmed on Friday, 17 May 2024. And here fieldwork means going out into the world to obtain information or fact check things or stuff like that. So so let's say if I'm writing an autobiography or a biography on a computer, it'd be like going out into the world. Stepping away from that and going out and see what else I can find. Though somebody might take something for note-taking out in the field, like this is a book I've used when doing field work in the realm of geology, right? And it's full of notes and drawings that I made out there and documentation and stuff like that. So what a person uses for field work can vary depending on who they are, what field they're in, and what they're doing. And that's relevant for biography and autobiography, including memoir, because, well, what one might be doing field work for is at least partially determined by the subject of the book. And so again, biography is a book about somebody other than the person writing it, and autobiography is a book about oneself, and then a memoir, as kind of defined on this channel, is like a shorter period of one's life. A lot of people, with the focus on the writing of it being memory, kind of thing. Okay, so biography, there's, when coming to mind, not all of the books I've read and done on this channel, notes videos, have field work brought up. Or some people mention how they write their books and some people don't. And so for biography, the standout currently for the biographies I have read and done a notes video on this channel, Tanis Leonhardi, is the biography Restless Fires about John Muir. It was by, I think, James B. Hunt, if I'm recalling correctly. I didn't look it up before filming this, but I'll link to my notes on autobiography / biography playlist and book / reading notes playlist in the video description. And he went to a bunch of different archivals, places, so archives, to get information for the book. So that was his fieldwork. That's a little bit different. So the book covered John Muir in a really long walk he did. It did not do fieldwork to like check where the location of the trail was, per communicated in the book. So it was field work to get information about the person instead of like in-person verification of like locations or sites or stuff like that. So that was one thing. But that's kind of the only one where they've actually delved into the field work aspect, at least on this channel. I guess another one that I was aware of when it came out was Memoirs of a Geisha, when it was closer to when the film adaptation of the book was released. They talked about how the author did a bunch of field work, like in the press coverage, which is non-existent these days online, right? It still happened, but like storage space problems, the stuff that we had available when that kind of information came out is not necessarily, if it is available, it's not as accessible as it used to be, if none other than recency kind of thing. And so the other one, and I have done a notes video for Memoirs of a Geisha for my 2023 reading of the book. That one is one I heard about, like, and they really the author was really prided for how elaborate their research was, and their like in-person component of that. It wasn't just reading, it was going out and like talking to people and actually kind of understanding the culture. So that's one that I in my notes video, I'm like, I'm not quite sure what this really is, and like the there's a difference between the book and then how it was communicated in the press. And so like it's a memoir of a person's life that's framed as a collection of people's lives about culture, but it's about the culture, but it's a real person or something, but it's changed for, or not changed for protective reasons. So it was that, yeah, so I'll bring that up in this one because he was not the geisha. Right? Geishas are female, if nothing else, so it's closest to biography. Or memoir, but I'm not doing that as a separate one for this video. Autobiography, the one book that comes to mind, so we're on to second category, and the third book is Slow Getting Up by Nate Jackson, who's an American football player. He did an autobiography, and he talked about how he constructed his book and how he like spent, you know, a bunch of hours in, was it like the library or something like that. And so it's like, I would venture, I guess, per the nature of the book, he might have gone back to some of the locations. So in thinking about writing my own story, I'm like, well, it would depend on what I'm looking up, right? That kind of thing. What in-person verification of small details, keeping in mind things could change, right, between when one lives something and when one visits and when the book is published, right? There's multiple time points to put in place, which is why some people who write books might not actually visit any places. They're like, that's a whole nother can of worms. But Nate Jackson was like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna get through it, and he did. And he did mention that a little bit in his autobiography, so that was more of a combination of seeking out information and possibly going to places for whatever kind of fact-checking, or has things changed, or that kind of stuff. Because like if I'm like, take me for example, my elementary school no longer exists. In the middle school and high school, the buildings I had classes in no longer exist. So like how I might write the book is like, as of filming this, no person in existence can have the pipeline I had for my education, right? Because if none other than buildings, and then the elementary school, there are no buildings, right? Period. Not even replacements. So there's a little bit of, I might, would I write it differently? Right. So maybe going back, and which I've already done. I've gone back to a bunch of these places. Not all of the places I've been, but like I've been back to the school grounds specifically. Yeah. So that kind of thing. All right, and then the third category I am going to highlight here is nonfiction, including information about a few central individuals, though not explicitly a biography nor an autobiography. So this one specifically is The Race of the Century, which was covering 3 different individuals on the battle to break the 4-minute barrier in the 1-mile run. And the individuals highlighted were Roger Bannister of England, John Landy of Australia, and Wes Santee of the United States of America. And the author did have a lot of information or notes, like back matter, and he emphasized for that one information gathering, although a lot of it, because of the nature of that hunt, which was like 1940s, 1950s, a lot of that information isn't online. So it was closer to the John Muir's archive stuff, but he also emphasized, it was Neil Bascombe was the author, if I'm recalling correctly. Again, didn't look it up. I'm not looking it up now. And so he emphasized the importance of talking to people. Right, and so even if there are records, it's not necessarily, like, the archives are one thing, but, you know, if John Landy's family really cared about the man, right, they might have private collections. So keeping that in mind, sometimes talking to people, and if they have something they want to share, then there's access to that, which might be very few people have access to that. All right, so, and that's field work of I guess, more of a social nature. Yeah. But in conclusion, so that's some of the trends I'm observing is, if everybody does it, not everybody brings it up right, in the book itself. But I highlighted the 4 examples of press and or books that I've read and put out notes videos on this channel. that you can go to and watch those videos if you want. But that's what I have observed as of Friday, 17 May 2024, and that comes to mind as of filming this.